What is going on, guys? Brewer here, back again with the final part of the Q4 Spark series, the one that you've all been waiting for. In this video, I'm going to give you a full explanation on how to scale on TikTok ads, a step-by-step strategy that you can actually follow to scale your store. But before watching this video, you have to watch my last 3 videos because I give a lot of context and a lot of specific strategy and information that you're going to need to be able to implement and honestly even understand this video. So if you haven't watched those yet, then make sure that you go check those out. Earlier this year, I was really struggling to scale products on TikTok. Finding winners and getting something to pop off with a 3-4 ROAS on day 1, 2, 3 was fairly easy, but usually like about a week in, they would keep on dying out and I didn't know what to do about it. The sales were super inconsistent, campaigns doing really good one day and not good the next day, just overall, just everything being all over the place. It was very difficult to scale and I was finding winner after winner after winner and losing winner after winner after winner. To be completely honest with you, I was losing a lot of hope in TikTok ads being a viable, scalable platform for dropshipping. It just doesn't last long enough and the margins kept on getting cut into by inconsistent results. Until I discovered this one rule, and that rule is that basically nothing with TikTok ads makes sense. But it has to make sense. There has to be a code. There has to be a way to figure it out. And then I got to thinking, like, maybe if there's no code, like if none of this is making sense, then maybe the code is just understanding that there's no code and that none of it makes sense. And this is where I really started to figure it out. Found another winner, started paying attention a little bit more, $1,000 a day, maintaining it, fairly consistent. Do it on another store, hit $1,000 a day while the other one is also being consistent day after day. Just keep on finding these winners and scaling them to $1,000 a day. And if you fast forward 30 days later, now there's 4 stores that are doing $1,000 to $2,000 per day, every single day, incredibly consistently. And all of these stores were owned by students that joined my mentoring program. For the next 3 days only, I am running a huge discount on my mentoring program with the goal of getting more students and helping more people find winners and scale their products this Q4 with the strategies that I've been talking about in this series. And today is also my birthday. I will choose the products for you, help you build your store, get your ads, run your test campaigns with you, analyze them with you, and ultimately scale with you once you find a winner. All in all, just looking over your shoulder and making sure that you're doing everything correctly during this Q4 so that you can find a winner and scale in the best way possible. So far, I've taken about 20 people into this program, and so far, 9 of them have seen profitable stores, and 6 of them have scaled to over $1,000 a day in sales, and 3 to 4 have actually passed the $2,000 a day mark. My strategies are as optimized as they get. Q4 is here. It's the best time to be testing products, the best time to be finding winners, and this program has the highest success rate in terms of the amount of students that join versus actually end up with a profitable store out of anything that I've ever launched before. So in light of my birthday, I'm doing this huge discount to motivate a ton of people to jump in and start taking action towards their goals. If you want to work with me and take advantage of the discount, fill out the application in the description below or send me a DM on my Instagram page and we can have the conversation about it. Just make sure that you do it in the next 3 days because the discount will be going away. So back to the story. What did I do differently? What actually allowed me to go from, struggling to scale products past a week and keeping sales consistent to now being able to take stores to $1,000, $2,000 a day and maintain that throughout an entire month? Well, one of the main things that I did is I stopped focusing on trying to create a replicable strategy and I started paying attention to each individual ad account as a separate entity and just paying attention to absolutely everything going on inside of each account so that I could make judgments not based on some ghost strategy out there that somebody created, but actually paying attention and trying to create my own strategy based on what I was seeing for that particular ad account. And this worked really, really well. I was basically just paying attention to what worked and did more of it, consistently tested new things, and it made me realize that the variables that we talked about in the last video are not an actual strategy that you would follow to see success, but it's actually a very big mixture of all these variables, and the way that you implement them is what allows you to be consistent and get consistent results. It honestly wasn't until I started treating every single ad account differently that I realized that every single ad account was actually the same. Scaling TikTok ads is as simple as creating a campaign creation pattern that allows you to consistently test new things and also maximize things that currently are working in the ad account very consistently. I'm going to elaborate on this. I know it's very confusing to understand, but that's the whole point of this video. In order to properly explain to you how scaling with TikTok ads is working for me, I need to give you context. I need to make these, confusing graphs and all this crazy shit, because it's incredibly confusing. Every single ad account needs to be treated like a separate entity, and there's no one strategy or variable that is going to work better or worse, because all the variables work. It just completely depends on the situation and that particular ad account. For example, one day lowest cost on the ad account could be performing the best, but then the next day lowest cost could completely tank and cost caps could be performing the best. So you really just need to be consistently testing new things and also paying attention to what's going on in the account. I like to refer to this as the heartbeat of the ad account, so that you can listen to it and then act accordingly with your campaign creation. And keeping your campaign creation consistent is very, very important when it comes to scaling your TikTok ads. This strategy is not gonna be like my Facebook ad strategy videos, where it's like a create this and then do this and then do that, because everything is all over the place. There's a lot of different things that you can test, and it's very important that you do it in the right way so that you can yield the best results. I'm gonna now get into the actual step-by-step scaling strategy, what you need to do to actually take your store to where it's profitable and then scale it to 1, 2, 3, 4K a day, and actually be able to maintain that. And it's not easy to do, and it's not easy to explain, so I would highly recommend watching this part numerous times just to get your head wrapped around it, maybe take some notes or something along those lines. So if you go back to my initial scaling video, it talks about what to do for 3 to 4 days after you find a winning product. So once you watch that video and you come here, we're now on the same page. So now you have a winning product, it's been 3 to 4 days, you've been making 1 to 2 campaigns per day, and you're still seeing consistent sales, consistent profitability, and you know that this product is a winner by this point. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, then go watch the initial scaling strategy video. The way that you transition from making 1 to 2 campaigns per day for the first 3 to 4 days into actually being able to scale to better numbers is you need to start consistently increasing the amount of campaigns that you're creating and the amount of variables that you're testing. Well, you may ask, how am I supposed to do this? What's the best way? My best way for teaching you how to do this is to give you a list of rules to follow with a little bit of explanation on these rules. So you're gonna take all these rules and then implement them, follow the rules, make sure that everything that you're doing fits into these rules, and you should be good. And I will also give you an example of what this strategy looks like as it's being implemented on an ad account, just so that you can see what it looks like when you just look at the rules, and you can also see what it looks like when you're in your actual ad account deciding what to do day in and day out. So rule number 1, start getting in the habit of creating new campaigns every single day and killing bad ad groups very quickly. So one of the things that I've talked to many of my students about is how killing bad ad groups very fast is really important on TikTok, because when we see a winning ad group, usually it's making sales very, very early on. And when it's usually making sales completely varies depending on the ad account. Some ad accounts, they'll have a sale by $10 spent or $15 spent. So what I usually tell people is determine what number that an ad group usually makes a sale by, and then set that as a rule so that tomorrow or the day after, if an ad group spends, say, $10 or $12 without a sale, then you know that that ad group is probably not going to be a winner, and you can go ahead and turn it off and start cutting your losses and increasing your profits. Rule number 2, if you've seen the Q4 Spark series, then you know that I talk about how creating new campaigns has a much higher success rate than leaving your current campaigns running. Now, you can leave your current campaigns running. I would just highly encourage that you actually pay attention to how it's doing and what the average success rates are of leaving a campaign on from day 1 into day 2, because it can be very, very deceiving when you have a very, very profitable campaign and you just want to leave it on. But most of the time, day 2s of very profitable campaigns don't perform that well, and you almost most of the time you're going to be better off creating a new campaign as opposed to letting that current campaign run. You can do it, just test it early on. Like when you're transitioning from initial scaling into actual scaling, maybe leave a couple campaigns on and see how they perform. And if they perform great, then cool. Maybe in your ad account, leaving campaigns on is a good idea. But if they don't perform good, then don't get caught up in that mindset, because you want to consistently be creating new things and not just relying on what you currently have. In my experience, things work very fast on TikTok, and they also stop working very fast. Rule number 3, this one is very, very important. Only change the amount of campaigns that you're making per day on a weekly basis. So try to keep the amount of campaigns that you're creating per day consistent, and if you're gonna increase it or decrease it, try to only do it once per week. Now, what I mean by this is when you're doing your initial scaling, you're gonna be making 1 to 2 campaigns per day. When you make the transition into actual scaling, you're probably gonna increase that to 3 per day or 5 per day or 8 per day, whatever your number is, where you're comfortable testing all these different variables. It's very important that you don't, day number 1, make 5 campaigns, and then day number 2, make 10 campaigns, day number 3, make 6 or 7. Keep the number as consistent as possible for as long as possible, so that TikTok can get used to you creating these campaigns every single day. I know that sounds very crazy, but it's true, and you need to be consistent with the amount of campaigns that you're creating. And if you are gonna increase or decrease, you'll see in the example how we can smoothly do that without jerking the ad account, with high spend, low spend, high spend, low spend. We don't want to do that. We want to keep things fairly consistent. Rule number 4, always keep a balance with creating your new campaigns, with testing new variables and retesting variables that you know are currently working good. The best way that I can explain this is if you're currently making 5 campaigns per day, then you're probably gonna want like a 2-3 mixture of new variables and existing variables that are currently performing good. So for example, if today you test lowest cost, ACO, Spark, like let's say that you have 3 new variables that you tested and then you made 2 replicates of your campaigns from yesterday, you would be testing 3 new things and 2 existing things. And you're gonna see this on the example. You don't wanna have days where you do all 5 of them are just existing variables that you've done before, and you don't wanna have days where everything that you're doing is new either. So you wanna always keep them balanced. You wanna consistently be testing new things and also consistently be running things that have worked before. Rule number 5, be very, very fluid with your campaign creation. What I mean by this is the amount of campaigns that you're creating can change. They go up and down. One week you might be profitable and everything will be okay with you creating 5 campaigns per day. But the next week, things could get a little bit worse and you might want to dumb it down to like 2 or 3 campaigns a day. And then once things start picking up, you can increase the amount of campaigns that you're making per day back up to 8, right? So you want to be very fluid and pay attention to the heartbeat of your ad account, because if it's performing very bad and you're still making 8 campaigns per day, you can basically eat away at all of your profits, and it could be very easy to get into an unprofitable situation there. So just be very fluid, pay attention to what's going on. Don't be scared to scale down a little bit if you're having a few rough days, and don't be scared to scale up a little bit if you're having a few good days. Rule number 6, as a general rule, if you test a new variable and it performs well, recreate it for the next day. Now, what happens if I'm testing 3 new variables per day and 2 existing ones, and then all 3 of the new things work? Well, obviously this is a great situation to be in. Remember the fundamental that we have to be creating new things along with existing things. So now you're gonna have 5 new things that you're gonna be putting in a campaign for tomorrow. So you might wanna also test new things on top of that. So maybe you're going from 5 campaigns per day up to 7 now, because all 5 of your campaigns performed very well. So now you can justify adding a couple new ones on top of that to test out some different variables and keep the cycle going. I'm gonna try to give you the best example of what this would look like in an actual ad account so that you can try to visualize and think about how you could actually go out and implement this strategy into your store. I'm gonna go week by week and tell you essentially what we're doing. All we're doing is creating new campaigns. Some of them are going to be existing variables that performed good, and some of them are going to be new variables that we're testing, things like lowest cost, ACO, Spark ads, whatever, those types of variables. Week number 1 is obviously just going to be initial scaling. This is where you're going to be doing your initial test campaign and then doing your initial scaling, where you're just creating 1 to 2 campaigns per day for 3 to 4 days. So we're just going to skip that and we're going to transition into actual scaling now. You know that the product is a winner. what we're gonna do is we're gonna start creating 5 new campaigns every single day. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do 2 existing variables. So that's 2 existing campaigns that we know have consistently performed good during the initial scaling process. And we're also going to be doing 3 new variables on top of that. So each day we're gonna be recreating 2 campaigns that worked, and we're also gonna be creating 3 campaigns that are new, testing something new. Well, let's say that you did that for about a week, like let's call it 5 to 7 days, and your sales kind of slowed down, profitability was kind of slow, so we're gonna dial it down a little bit. We're gonna go back to making 3 campaigns per day. We're only gonna be doing 1 existing variable every single day now, and we're gonna add 2 new variables. So now we're basically recreating 1 thing from the day before and also testing 2 new things that we haven't done yet, or things that worked before but died out, those types of things. So now we're in week 3. Last week we were making 5 campaigns per day. This week we're only doing 3 campaigns per day. Let's have a look at week 4 now. So during week 3, we dialed it down a little bit. Now we're gonna start raising it back up, because let's say that during week 3, you actually got some winning variables and things started looking on the up and up again. So we're now gonna increase the amount of campaigns that we create, and it's gonna be the same exact mixture as last time, except now we're gonna do 3 existing campaigns and 2 new variables. Because we're doing 3 existing campaigns because we worked out 3 campaigns that are going to perform good last week for this week, and we're also going to test 2 new variables. This is scaling. We're increasing the amount of variables that we're testing because we want to increase the amount of campaigns that are working every single day. And let's say that this performed very, very well. Essentially, the next week after that, you would just want to increase it again. So now you're going to be recreating 5 variables and doing 3 new variables. So now you're doing a total of 8 campaigns per day. This strategy essentially allows you to build up your baseline of existing variables that you know perform good, while also consistently testing new variables and new campaigns and finding new things that will perform good. And one thing to note is that just because 1 variable is working today does not mean it's going to be working tomorrow. So this is why you need to constantly be testing new things. Because if you're not, then your original 5 are going to dwindle down to like 1 or 2 that stay working. So as you're testing new things, it'll basically replacing the existing things that died out, and now you're finding new things that are working well. And I know that paying attention to this many variables and this ad strategy is absolute hell to follow. You have to be super on top of your account and pay a lot of attention to what's going on. But I actually used pretty much this exact formula. Like, this is pretty much exactly what me and one of my students just did to scale his store to over $2,000 a day in like 4 days. Even though it sounds like craziness, when you're actually implementing it on an ad account, once you wrap your head around it and you start seeing it in real life, it's very, very simple. I would just admit right now that it's very hard to explain. Now, if you're constantly recreating new campaigns with different variables and also testing new variables, inevitably you're gonna run out of variables to test. I just made a video on all the different variables that I've seen perform incredibly well, and there's honestly not that many. There's like 15 to 20 of them maybe, and then you can spin a few of them into a few different branches of things to do, but overall, eventually you're gonna run out of shit to do. So let me introduce you to the variable circle and how you can use this to your advantage. Essentially, there's no one variable that is better than the other. Everything works and everything doesn't work equally. It just completely depends on the time, the ad account, how you do it, those types of things. So essentially, you could come into the scaling phase doing lowest cost and scaling lowest cost, and lowest cost is the best thing that works for that account. Halfway through, lowest cost could completely stop working, and now you're scaling with cost caps, right? Like, cost caps are the thing that's performing very, very well. Halfway through scaling cost caps could just completely die out, and then lowest cost could start popping off again. And this is what I mean by there's no variable that outperforms another. I've heard so many people argue like, oh, lowest cost doesn't work anymore, or cost caps don't work anymore. And it's just complete and utter bullshit. And honestly, it's a major red flag that whoever's saying that really has no idea how TikTok ads work and how to actually scale them. And they're just trying to be controversial for some odd reason. It's completely normal for one day lowest cost to perform well and the other day for value to perform better and the other day for cost cap to perform better, but it doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It just means that the results are fairly random, which is why we consistently test new things over and over and over again. So this can create a variable cycle where you may start off with lowest cost, and then as you're testing new variables, you might test out cost caps, and then lowest cost might kind of dwindle away, and now you're scaling with cost caps. It doesn't mean that you should stop testing with lowest cost, because it can start popping off again. And I've actually seen many ad accounts now where lowest cost, value, and cost caps are all performing well at the same exact time. So I know that this video was a little bit confusing, but I hope that understanding the rules to follow, seeing the example, and understanding the variable circle is giving you a good idea and is going to help you scale your next TikTok ad store. I can tell you guys from firsthand experience, and I'm sure that you can tell by watching this video, that we are not in Kansas anymore. Scaling with TikTok is not as simple as just duplicating a campaign like a CBO and increasing the budget like it was back in the Facebook days. Back in the Facebook days, you could create a campaign, walk away from your ad account for a week, come back, and the results would be better than when you first initially saw it. That is not how TikTok ads work. You have to pay attention to the account. You have to consistently test new things and maximize what you currently have that's working. And you guys need to take advantage of this as a strategy and not look at it as a downside of the platform. Facebook ads was great, but think about the scalability of all these different variables. If you could get your account to a point where you're creating 10, 15, 20, I've even seen accounts that are creating 30 to 50 campaigns every single day. Every single one has a different variable, different budget, different optimization goal, and you can scale to really, really high numbers with this strategy. So make sure that you understand it and make sure that you take advantage of it for the better with your TikTok ads. So that was pretty much it, and this wraps up the Q4 Spark series. If you haven't seen the rest of the videos, I highly recommend going back and watching them, as this was pretty much a full TikTok ads training from product testing all the way up to scaling. Now, like I said, my coaching program is going to be on a massive sale for the next 3 days only, so if you may be interested in working with me, if you at least want to talk and see what it would look like, I'm happy to run you through everything. Fill out the application in the description below or send me a DM on Instagram. I'm happy to talk with all of you. As always, if you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe for more, and turn on notifications, as I have some really exciting videos coming up over the next few weeks as we step out of the Q4 Spark series and we step into my normal uploading schedule again. That's pretty much it for this video. This is Noah Brewer, and I'm out. Peace.